Whole foods are a really simple way of eating healthy. If you stick to plant-based whole foods, you can guarantee that your diet is going to be pretty damn healthy. Obviously, you want to make sure you have a really good variety, make sure you're eating fruits, vegetables, a lot of greens, but the key thing is whole foods. You can have a healthy diet and not be eating whole foods, but it just makes it so much simpler because whole foods are always going to be healthier than their processed counterpoint. So, what is a whole food? A whole food is a food that looks the same as it did when it was in nature. Like you pick an apple off the tree, it's a whole food. If you pull a carrot out of the ground, that's a whole food. If you peel that apple, you're removing the skin, which is a completely edible part of the apple. It was what nature provided it with, the skin, and you're taking off a lot of nutrients. In each different color apple, there's going to be different nutrients. So red apples are going to have different nutrients than green apples, but there's so much nutrition in that skin, in that color part, in that really thin area that's like a whole different texture, material. It's a whole different nutritional complex than the rest of the apple is, and you're removing that. So the apple's still healthy for you, obviously. Peeled apples, I'm not saying peeled apples are bad in any way, but the skin of the apple is important as well. Every piece of the apple is really, really important, and maybe to a degree that we don't even understand scientifically, microscopically, like microscopically, that certain nutrients in the apples, certain micronutrients in the apple skin will react with certain micronutrients in the apple flesh and do certain cancer resisting, whatever it may be, properties that happen when you mix those two things that wouldn't happen if you're not eating them together. So obviously you're still getting a whole bunch of health benefits from the flesh of the apple, but something in that skin might have reacted with the flesh that might have just amped up the bonus that much more, made it that much healthier. So potatoes, that's a whole food. Fruits and vegetables, like that's a whole food. Something like almonds are a whole food, but if you get something like almond milk, that's a processed food. You can make almond milk at your house, sprout your own almonds. You're still straining out the pulp, making it not a whole food. But if you make it at home, it's gonna not have all these added ingredients and be closer to a whole food. So you can kind of view it as a scale, even though certain things are definitely whole foods, definitely. It's like a grain of rice. Brown rice is a whole food. White rice is not a whole food, but something processed like a white rice flour, something made like rice pasta or whatever it is, that's definitely not a whole food, completely way on this side, processed. White rice is really close to a whole food because it still looks the same, similar as it did in nature, but you removed the bran and the germ and the outside of it, which has got fiber, it's got B vitamins, it's got a little bit of fat in there, which is just enough to absorb and assimilate those fat soluble B vitamins that are in it, because nature knows what it was doing when it created it. It perfectly packaged the brown rice, it perfectly packages all of the food that's out there for us to eat, even though like truly if we were in nature we wouldn't even be eating these whole grains. The whole grains are easy to cook and they are perfect the way they are. The further we step away from nature, the further we step into disease, the further we are out of order with the universe, which is what Oriental medicine viewed disease as. It was a disalignment, a way of being out of order with the universe, and if you are able to balance yourself back into alignment, frequency, balance of everything around you, that you would heal from whatever ailment that you had, and that's a really big basic principle in Oriental medicine. So something like bread is not a whole food. Wheat, you can cook barley, that's a type of wheat. You can cook it up the same way you cook rice. It's got the germ, it's got the grain, it's got the bran, that is a whole food. But then once you break it down into a flour, even if it's whole wheat flour, you've broken it down into a flour, you've added all these other things, it's not a whole food anymore. You can make a whole food version of bread. It's called Essene bread, and you sprout the wheat berries. I'm not really sure what the recipe is, but you can go online and Google Essene bread, E-S-S-E-N-E, and that is a whole foods version of a bread. Because you can see the wheat berries still in like the same way that you would see them in nature after you like pull it out of the grass. And that's one of just the key way to see what a whole food is. As if it looks the same as it did when it came from nature. Whole foods are always going to be the best for you because that's just what nature made. Perfect food that nature made. Raw foods are even better. The whole foods that are raw and fresh and ripe, those are going to be the best. But cooked whole foods are second best. They're just as good. Just as close as you can be to nature. whole grain rice. Not saying that white rice is completely bad, but try to stick with brown rice more often because it's going to have more nutrition, it's going to have more fiber, it's going to have more health benefits and less any problems that might come with white rice. Not that I'm saying white rice is bad or that there are certain problems that come with white rice, but certain processed grains can cause inflammation and things like that. So eating the whole grain version of it is always going to be better. It's going to keep you fuller longer. It's going to leave you feeling more nutritionally satisfied. Always stick to whole foods, but don't stress out about it too much, and and treat yourself every now and again. Just try to keep that like the basics of your diet. Try to keep that in mind because it just makes health easy. Whole foods, it's easy. Thanks for watching.